All right. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. This is Koosh. I'm having a really good one so far. As usual, look to get a lot in on the weekends. I'm not looking to sit back and chew the fat. I'm looking to do the opposite, burn the fat, get in the gym, get in the sauna, hang out with my daughter. Daughter and her friend took them out last night. They had some fun today. And as usual, as they're kind of doing their thing, I am doing my thing, and that involves jumping into the charts. And here we are. I've been waiting to do this video for the better part of almost 2 years now. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. Use everything I talk about for just a different perspective. Your education and everything I talk about could go up, down, sideways. Back in 2013, this is September 9th, I believe I posted this tweet. Correlations that I've been following for a very long time. A lot of panic on the timeline. We were at 25,900 Bitcoin. The NASDAQ was just kind of coming out of the bottom early stage V-shaped recovery. The dollar was doing what it was doing. I had claimed still looking for a new high on the dollar, an up thrust, if you will, after distribution. Those are these three charts that I have up here. One reason I was looking for an all-time high well before the halving was because of this chart and the way that liquidity and the NASDAQ lead everything, and the correlation between the dollar and the NASDAQ and Bitcoin. I don't think the halving has ever driven anything. I think this chart more closely resembles what's going on in terms of money flow and cycles and timing and the dollar more than anything else. And so we were at 25.9. I'm just reading through some of these tweets. Here I am. We'll come back to this pin tweet this time this year. No, it will no longer be pinned, is my guess. No, it's still pinned. I think you should stop tweeting for a while. Yeah, I get it. I love it. I love I just love it when it's salty. It wasn't a popular take, I don't think, at the time. But since then, markets have been continuing really one of the I think greatest runs we've seen in that time frame. And so why am I doing this video now? I've been looking for a major upthrust, much like we've seen in each of the prior moves in the dollar, closely correlated in times of these reaccumulations. I'm going to move out of this chart. Okay, I'm going to move out of this chart, and I'm going to zoom into what we're dealing with currently. Okay, and what we're dealing with currently, let me get this out of the way, is basically I just have Bitcoin on top and the dollar on the bottom, and I'm focused essentially on 2013. We saw the correlation prior to that. We've seen the correlation since the inception of Bitcoin. But for the purpose of this exercise, I just want to talk about the flow of what's going on here. Let's just kind of set the stage. We've seen a cycle of behavior with the dollar that starts with an uptrend on the dollar. Here I am, 2015, a very clear uptrend. And where this uptrend peaks in March 2015, we saw a bottoming in the Bitcoin price. Okay, and that was a bottoming process. And you don't always get springs, you don't always get secondary tests in phase B that are V's. Sometimes, and this is just a massive reaccumulation, folks. That's all this is. And then think about this as a 15-minute chart. This is an uptrend, right? Impulse, consolidation, impulse, consolidation, impulse, consolidation, in the context of an uptrend. So each of these areas is essentially a reaccumulation, a massive reaccumulation event, massive reaccumulation event. And each of these reaccumulation events looks a little different. We have, generally speaking, one type of very strong automatic reaction, counter trend rally, B wave, Elliott wave, whatever you want to call it, and then a final move down. We saw that here, right? B wave kind of sets the top, right, of this accumulation range. Automatic rallies do that a lot. And then we had a C down here. Our B wave, our automatic rally, was a new all-time high. We see that in expanding flats. So B wave, again, the key here kind of sets the ceiling. of this accumulation range, one final leg down. This swept, that swept. This was a very long sweep. But the point here is that's what these two lines are on my Bitcoin chart. They're just simple ways to think about massive reaccumulation ranges and the mean zone within these reaccumulation ranges, okay? The mean zones. And within these zones, we've got very similar characteristics as we move out of the reaccumulation. We've got a test, jumping of the creek, sign of strength, expansion. We've got an upthrust type move here, last point of support tests, sign of strength, expansion. We have a consolidation at a last point of support. And then we jump this creek, sign of strength, and then expansion. And so we're, in my opinion, can continue to contend an early stage expansion, not late stage expansion. That's my opinion. Everyone's trying to convince me that we're now somehow towards the end of things and tops. And so, when I look at global liquidity, the chart that I posted earlier on my X account, when I look at this, when I look at sentiment, when I look at some of the things I posted in subs today and yesterday or 2 days ago, I did a video that looks at all of these different sentiment gauges in history and where we are now and the similarities in terms of various data metrics are all kind of telling me the same thing here. Long story short. And so let's get back to this exercise. I defined the playing field so far with Bitcoin up here. Now let's define it with the dollar. I said uptrend. We have a period of horizontal consolidation. We have an upthrust towards the end of this horizontal consolidation. What's that? This is a redistribution or a distribution, if you will. Okay. And that upthrust and the latter portion of this distributive rally or price action corresponds very closely to what with Bitcoin? Its parabolic move. Then we see the initiation after the upthrust of a downtrend. And what does the dollar do eventually? It rallies again. And it rallies, it reaches this buying climax, and same kind of thing, Bitcoin bottoms. And then we have a macro range, redistribution. Upthrust after distribution, new trend down. Upthrust in this case in March 2020 corresponded to us kind of this LPS and move up and out, and then expansion. From 2021, we saw the dollar go parabolic. Okay, same concept here. We had uptrend. This was more of a parabolic move. The parabola peaked, and then Bitcoin bottomed shortly thereafter. Okay, this range looked a little bit different, has looked different so far, in that we fell out of the parabola, but much like you'd see in Bitcoin, right? These ABCs, we're having A, massive B wave, and I'm contending C is next. I thought this would happen sooner. For those of you that have been following me, my takes on the dollar have been good at times, not good at other times in this range. I thought we were making this upthrust much earlier. I was wrong there, but Bitcoin didn't really care. I mean, this move from September through December, the initiation of the upthrust to the upthrust produced almost a greater than 2x return on Bitcoin. But now what's happened is we're starting to see this upthrust confirm, right? Back in the range on one of the biggest moves we've ever seen in a week on the dollar. And now I'm contending this upthrust is complete and it's confirmed. That's my opinion. There's nothing to say that this can't do this and I'm wrong, okay? There's nothing to say that. Markets are right. But that's my contention. When I'm looking at these patterns, when I'm looking at all the other things that I've used to formulate my analysis in terms of sentiment, in terms of one of the things I posted in the subs earlier today, fear and greed for the amount of days we've been at the levels we've been at. have preceded on average 24% rallies in the Nasdaq since 2020. And so I put all these things together to paint a picture in my mind that we are the setup is a lot more similar to 2017 here than it is, in my opinion, to 2020. Why? Because we had a more complex correction on the dollar. The dollar went through a longer redistribution period in 2015 through 2017, made an early upthrust, okay, and that's where it kind of reclaimed. Bitcoin reclaimed the bottom end of this median channel, is what I'm calling it. And the same kind of thing happened here in October 2023. Where is that the upthrust? Well, it did the same thing and kind of held on to the inside part of this range prior to making its major move from 25 to 70. And so same type of thing happened in, let me get rid of these. Same type of thing happened in February 2016, where Bitcoin kind of went from, let's see, those lows to, this upthrust region, 115% gain in the face of, this continued distribution in the dollar. And so what I'm concerned with is to say, all right, we had kind of a fake out upthrust, a real upthrust. And then when that real upthrust was over, what did Bitcoin do? And mind you, when when the dollar started coming down here from 103, this is in 2016, December 2016, to 99, Bitcoin corrected. So it's not always an in-time correlation. Bitcoin corrected 30%, 27% in line. I'm sure it's more than that in candle when you look at the wicks. Line excludes the wicks. And so we saw an almost 30% correction, maybe more, prior to 20x move, 19x move, okay? The second instance where we had this upthrust, we saw Bitcoin, let's go from the top end of the range because it's a bit more dramatic. Here was a 10x move. But let's just say we're, let's point to like this area, okay? Closer to where we are right now on the dollar. So after the upthrust completed, got back into this range. And what did Bitcoin do? The dollar went from 100 down to 97, and Bitcoin was flat there in this little range. And then finally, got moving out of this range to the tune of a 6x over the course of the next, what was it? 6-7 months. And so when I think about all these things, I put the picture together. I believe me, I've got a sense for the sentiment out there, and where fear is right now in traditional markets for 70 days now. We've been in this fear zone. And our overall structure looks like this on Bitcoin, looks like this on the dollar. I have to believe that what's ahead of us is what the least amount of people are thinking right now. And so what are most people thinking? I don't know. This is kind of my own using all the different inputs I get, is that we have one more leg in Bitcoin, and it's going to be 140 to 150 thousand on average. I see a lot of the tops are in. I see a lot. We've got to go back to 60, 50, 70K, and all those things are possible. All those things are possible. But I just don't see a lot of confidence in the thought that maybe this thing is, getting ready to do, and I'm calling for, 300 to 350K Bitcoin, where I've just shared evidence that Bitcoin has done, multiples of that when the similar liquidity setup has unfolded. And so, folks, that's a video. I felt like sharing this one with everybody because this is my pinned tweet, and I've been waiting for this type of action on the dollar to be able to address it finally. Is I've been looking for that for the better part of multiple years. Haven't seen a convincing upthrust until now. And so I think the implications here are far greater than most people are considering. Time will ultimately tell. And again, these things that doesn't mean that I think Bitcoin's going to rip to, 300K tomorrow, right? These things can take time. A lot like if you think of the trickle down effect. I think I posted this picture in the global liquidity chart that I posted earlier. You pour glass in a stack, right? A pyramid stack of champagne glasses, and if you're at the bottom and that champagne is being poured at the top, is it going to fall into the bottom glass in the bottom left corner right away? No, these things take some time. They take some time, so have patience. Hope you're all doing well. Look forward to some more updates. Have a great rest of the weekend.